Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. Today I had three boxes show up in the mail, so this is going to be just a good old-fashioned collection update. I've technically already opened the boxes because I don't think anybody wants to watch me struggle with a knife and a pair of scissors trying to get through multiple layers of bubble wrap while also trying to talk. So I did open up the boxes early. A couple of comments before we start looking at what came in the mail. It's really weird all of these showed up on the same day when, of course, I was trying to do a ton of yard work, which is why I may look like I'm about to fall asleep. But yeah, this is a bit unusual lately because I have not been ordering much of anything in 2025. I've got two or three CD orders before this, not much. I got a couple of CDs when I had some Amazon points a couple of months ago. Let's see, I bought one rare 7-inch single that I've talked about in a different video that's probably already been posted. Sometimes these get posted out of order, but yeah, I found one 7-inch single from my want list, got that. And I did order a handful of things when Dark Descent did their 30% off sale a month or so ago. But that's been about it. It really has been a very slow year for ordering stuff for me. I think I literally, prior to this stuff coming in, have two CDs that have been released in 2025. Just hasn't been happening. Part of the reason for that is just trying to cut down on things. Another big part of that is I have had some pretty good luck finding stuff locally in record stores. Have another video of visiting a new record store, hadn't been to before, and finding some good stuff. Don't know if that video will be posted before this one or not. But so yeah, picked up a few cool things at a new store. And I have bought some stuff out of a collection that was sold to one of the local record stores. I haven't really talked about that much because the stores had to unpack it kind of, piece by piece. And so it's not like, went in and, bought, 20, 30, 40 items all at once. It's been more like, check in every week or two and, buy a few things here, buy a few things there. Maybe I'll kind of pile it all together at some point and do a video on that because it is, a pretty impressive collection that got sold. But yeah, I don't know. That'll be a story for another time. For today, let's see what actually showed up in the mail. Uh, well, let's begin with this stack. I had some Amazon points saved up from other orders, and that's how I've been lately kind of picking up new CD releases. It's like when I've got enough to get like two of them, bundle them together so I don't even have to pay the shipping, then yeah, let's do that. And here's what we picked up. Finally got the new Havakruunu, Tavastland. Kellen and I reviewed this for Heavy Metallurgy earlier in the year. I'll make no bones about it. I still think it's going to be the album of the year. There's been some very good other albums coming out this year. I haven't heard anything that's coming close to this. Amazing album. Hadn't got around to picking up even this yet. So I noticed it was marked down on sale through Amazon. It's like I've got points saved up for exactly this kind of situation, so time to pick that up. Another new release that I don't know much about, but the parts I've heard have been promising, is by Gall's Weird, and it's entitled Braiding the Stories. This is Gall, who used to be in Gorgoroth, has worked with other projects. I don't know the guy's full backstory, but I know, he's a bit of a celebrity in Norwegian heavy metal, black metal circles, of course. And Gall's Weird is, I think, a relatively progressive-minded project that's done a few albums at this point. Not something I had ever checked out before, but the Radical Research podcast did like one of their zero point 0.5 episodes recently, specifically because Jeff had picked this up. He's a fan of the band and had followed them, so he picked it up right away. And he was really blown away by the closing track, which is called Flowing Starlight. So Jeff and Hunter talked about that one specific track in particular for one of their short episodes. And they played a couple of clips of it. It sounds really amazing. So I played a little bit more of the album on YouTube, and it sounded pretty impressive. So I was like, you know what, that sounds pretty good. And I need to add something to the order with this to qualify for the free shipping. because I refuse to pay Amazon shipping for anything anytime. So I was like, you know what? I think I'd like to check that out further. It seems like it's is going to be pretty cool. So we added that to the order. Two CDs doesn't quite get you free shipping through Amazon anymore. So needed one more, and the third one to round that out is a copy of Hallows Eve Tales of Terror that they had relatively cheap. I owned this on vinyl back in the day. My copy was not in very good shape. If I remember right, it probably skipped a couple of times or something. It had issues. So I eventually, I think I just sold it with a big pile of records, which it'd be nice to have an original copy back, but I'm okay with the CD reissue at this point. I've got the other two that I found really cheap, maybe sometime last year or the year before, but hadn't come across this one. Or when I did, this one was always full price. But Amazon had this really cheap. The three together um, with shipping. I got the free shipping by ordering all three, but I used points to pay for everything. So I actually paid nothing for the three CDs. There you go. I am nothing if not a cheap bastard. All right, moving on to box number two that showed up. This this is how you don't use Discogs this way. Yeah, I'm disappointed in myself for this one. But, and this kind of got tangled in with the Amazon shipping a little bit. When I was looking for that third CD to add to the Amazon order, I checked on Mayhemic's Toba. Came out last year. Good album, really liked it. And it was available through Amazon, but it was like 21.99. And I'm sorry, I'm just not paying 21.99 for new CDs. I am nothing if not a cheap bastard. So it was like, that's not going to work. And so, of course, it's like, well, I wonder if I would like that. Wonder if anybody else has it for a better price. Let's go to Discogs. That can't end badly, can it? Yes, that can end badly. It can. Turned out that, yes, somebody in the US had Mayhemic's Toba CD and had it for a really good price. I think it was only 13.99, which is like 7, 8 bucks cheaper than anybody else has had it in the US. And it's one of the really good sellers on Discogs, Heavy Metal Museum, which is Gary. Many of us know Gary, some on a first name basis. Not me personally, but Gary's made a good dent in my wallet over the years for sure. And so I saw, oh, well, hell, he's got it for 14 bucks. I will pay 14 bucks for that. I liked this album a lot. It was a Chilean thrash metal band, if folks aren't familiar with it. Good album. It does have one little flaw to it. It's so over the top from start to finish that it's a little bit exhausting to listen to. Kellen pointed that out when he was talking about the album when it came out, and I agree with his assessment. Really cool band, fun, good album, but it's at 11 from start to finish. So you get to the end of it, and it's just like, okay, I'm going to need some time to recover from that. But nevertheless, really happy to pick that up. So I was like, okay, yep. And Gary's, of course, Heavy Metal Museum, their stuff's always perfect condition. He ships insanely fast. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. His prices are very fair. What more could you want? Put it in the cart. Let's order that from Gary. Gary's probably got some other cool stuff. I should probably check and see because I could add it to the order and it won't add to the shipping, right? Well, if you're familiar with the Heavy Metal Museum, Gary's got a pretty big shop on Discogs. It's over 10,000 items. I checked, I looked, it says like CDs alone, it's over 6,000 CDs. You can't look through all the stuff he has for sale. You'd have to be an incredibly sick little monkey to try to look through all 6,000 CDs Gary has listed because you're buying one CD and you're hoping to put something else in there for the extra shipping at no cost. Okay, yes, I looked through all 6,000 CDs that Gary had listed at the time. Do you want me to say it? Do you want me to say I'm a sick little monkey? You know I'm a sick little monkey. I'm a sick little monkey. It took a couple of hours, but it was one of those evenings where it's like nothing else is going on. Just sitting here playing some music. Got one thing in the cart that I'm definitely buying. What do you have, Gary? Hit me with your best shot. Turns out Gary had stuff and things. And we bought some more stuff and things. We also, from Heavy Metal Museum, picked up the new Mean Mistreater album, Do or Die. I reviewed this earlier this year for Heavy Metallurgy. Great band out of Texas. This is their sophomore album. Love both their albums. Really fun, high energy stuff. They've got a killer vocalist. Um, I'm blanking on her name right now. I want to say Jocelyn, but I don't think that's right. Maybe it's Jacqueline. Sorry. Again, I've been doing a lot of grass mowing today and weed eating and stuff, so not firing on all cylinders at the moment. But yeah, this is a spectacular release for the year. It will be way up there on my end of year list. Again, Havakruno is kind of hogging the top spot, but Mean Mistreater is going to be up there. Very good album. Just glad he had it. Um, he also had the new Vulture's Vengeance, Dust Age. This is one that I checked out a month or two ago whenever it came out. Just like, okay, sounds all right. I have their debut on vinyl, and it's one of those that's good, but it's never fully sunk in. But I've never given it a ton of spin so it could sink in because it never made quite enough of an impression that I wanted to give it a bunch of spins to help it sink in. It just kind of in this whole vicious circle thing. But I knew this one had come out. I'd heard it was like, yeah, that's not bad. And talking with Kellen, once again, it's all Kellen's fault. I'm going to throw Kellen under the metaphorical bus here. Yeah, Kellen mentioned that he thought this was one of his top releases for the year so far. And when Kellen says such things, I do pay attention. Kellen's got really good taste in heavy metal, in my opinion. So I was like, maybe I should check that out again. Played a few songs on YouTube. I was like, oh hell, this is really, really good. The production sounds maybe a little odd. Maybe it was just the upload they had on YouTube. So like the production seems kind of weird, but the music is really top notch. Yeah, I probably should get that. High Roller CDs, they have different distributions in the US. They always can be a bit pricey, which is always a little disappointing. But Gary had a very good price. I'm like, yeah, okay. Let's add that one to the stack. So it sounds very promising. The next in the stack from the Heavy Metal Museum, Merciless: The Awakening, which I just didn't own a physical copy of. This is something that had been sitting in my cart for probably 2 or 3 months at this point. It's like, yeah, I should pick up a physical copy of that finally. And it wasn't Gary's copy that was in my cart. Someone else had, a used copy for like, $14 or something. And then Gary had like a brand new copy for like $15. I'm just like, yeah, yes, for the extra dollar, I'm not paying shipping, so add it to the cart. Most folks will know this one, so don't need to discuss that in depth. Next up, we've got the name for this one trips me up sometimes. Um, Black Sword Thunder Attack. Some folks will know this because Sarah reviewed this over on Banger TV a month or so ago. And it operates in kind of the Warlord, Lordian Guard kind of style. The clips sounded interesting when she played it. I had also checked out a little bit of it on YouTube. It's actually, yeah, pretty well done. But what is it? It's a No Remorse, which kind of like High Roller, some folks distribute for No Remorse in the US, but they can be a little few and far between, and sometimes the discs are expensive. But Gary had this for a good price. So I was like, yes, yes, I would like a copy of that. Let's do that. Ah, but there's more, of course. Picked up a copy of Coroner, No More Color. Been meaning to pick this up for quite some time, and it's one of those things that's very easy to put off or just overlook or forget about, or you see something else like, yeah, I think I'd rather get the other thing. I'll pick up the Coroner another time. But he had this at a good price. I was like, yeah, okay, today's the day we go ahead and pick up a CD of No More Color. I've had this from a CDR trade for ages. I haven't played it in a long time. Been meaning to revisit more of the Corner discography. I tend to just play the first two a lot, but No More Colors, obviously, a fine album too. And Now it will take its place on the shelf. We picked up a copy of Voivod, War and Pain. Folks who pay attention to heavy metallurgy when we're goofing around over there will know that not too long ago I got a copy of Roar on vinyl, found it locally for a really good price, and kind of got into it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Voivod is a band I've always struggled to wrap my head around. It's not that they're bad or that I hate them or anything like that, just never quite get them. There are certain aspects to Voivod's music I have some trouble digesting. But the Roar album kind of clicked. So it's occurred to me that maybe instead of trying to jump in into the deep end where Voivod's doing all the really crazy, heady, stuff, maybe I need to wade in from the shallow end of the discography and work my way up to those more. So it had been in the back of my mind, like, if I have a chance, I should pick up a copy of War and Pain. I've heard War and Pain before. It's been a little while. I remember it being decent. It was never something like, oh, I've got to run out and buy it right now. But again, it was buried somewhere in those 6,000 CDs that Gary had listed. It's like, oh, well, there it is. And it's actually not very expensive. So, okay, I guess we are going to continue the Voivod journey and see how War and Pain sits with me. Next up, what is this called? Funny font on funny colored cover. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's Visigoth's Conqueror's Oath. I couldn't remember the name of the album. I have the other Visigoth album, the one with the green cover, whose name escapes me at the moment, and really like it. It's a really good, new wave of traditional heavy metal style project out of Utah. The guy's been involved with a lot of other projects. I've heard this album before online, just again, surfing around YouTube and such, and remembered it being really good, maybe even better than the other album. But once again, just never had come across it, which is a little odd because if I remember right, it's a Metal Blade release. Isn't this Metal Blade? Hmm. Yep, it's a Metal Blade late release. Those usually aren't that hard to come by, but local stores don't stock a ton of traditional metal stuff. They're much more likely to have more of the extreme metal new releases. So I hadn't come across it, but found it going through the Discogs shop. And again, it wasn't very much. Some of these Metal Blade CDs he had were really good prices. So I'm like, yeah, I would like to hear more of the second Visigoth. And finally, number nine, for those who are counting to quantitatively assess my shame, we have Oblivion's Nemesis. This is the Oblivion from Canada that spells it with an E-O-N at the end. They're not the only Oblivion to spell it E-O-N. Most of them spell it I-O-N, though. It's a name that's been used a lot. Um, I know very little about this, but Radical Research covered it a while back. Actually, not very long ago at all. Hunter, Jeff, you guys really need to like move out of my wallet or start paying rent. They both talked this album up in ways they normally don't. I mean, obviously, all the stuff they cover they like, or they wouldn't cover it. There is that one Octagon video that's kind of the exception that proves the rule. But both Jeff and Hunter were extremely effusive about Oblivion, the first two albums. So, I listened to the show, listened to the clips. I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not going to claim that it blew me out of my seat immediately, but I literally was listening to their podcast the day I was, digging through the stuff. And sure enough, I'm like, oh, there's the album they're talking about that I've been listening to for the past hour. So I guess you could call this an impulse buy, but I did like the clips that they were playing on Radical Research. And when you're eight CDs deep, the ninth CD doesn't really matter that much. So that brought the uh, that brought the order to a halt. There were more things in the cart that I, called out, so I figured nine is enough. Mm, yeah, that was the thing. In all seriousness, I'm looking forward to checking it all out. And like I said, I have not ordered much stuff at all this year, so I'm not going to feel too bad about it. You can't make me feel bad about it. Uh, My credit card bill will make me feel bad about it when that shows up. But no, like I said, actually, Gary had a lot of those. I don't think he had necessarily marked them down, but a lot of them were like in the 12.99 kind of price range, which I won't pay 21.99 for new CDs. 12.99 for something I'm interested in or looking for? Yes, that's the time I will absolutely buy them. But that's only two packages. We still have a third package that showed up today. This package came from Chaos Records, which is a label slash distro in Mexico. I have not paid a ton of attention to them over the years, and apparently that's a mistake because it seems like they've put out some pretty good stuff that I've only recently become more aware of. And this kind of came to my attention through the Hate Meditations podcast, which is connected to the person. His name's Shelley. He writes reviews on Metal Archives as We Hope You Die. Reviews tend to be very good. Yeah, Shelley, he's kind of a heady kind of fellow, British fellow. I think he's in Yorkshire, if I remember right. I'm not trying to dox him. I think he's in Yorkshire. I couldn't point to it on the map. Anyway, yeah, folks that are familiar with the Hate Meditations was for a while more like a blog site, but he has started a YouTube channel with it now also and is doing like a not weekly, but maybe twice a month kind of podcast with some different guests. And they really approach things, from kind of like a big meta perspective, which I find very interesting. If heavy metallurgy were talking about like Tolkien and metal, we'd talk about it a little bit and then show albums by bands that were heavily influenced by Tolkien, talk a little about summoning, stuff like that. When Hate Meditations covers a topic like that, they're going to spend like 2 hours like connecting the dots from Tolkien's, biographies and why that has such a psychological impact on so many heavy metal fans and kind of, really getting into a granular level discussion on that, end of the spectrum. I find it really interesting stuff. I have not checked out a ton of their episodes yet. I've only slowly started working through them in the past couple of months. But yeah, if you want some very sort of deeper discussions on extreme metal topics, definitely go check out Hate Meditations. Um, he did one episode, and it was just something like, modern metal bands I like. Which, hey, we all do those kind of videos. Here's some random things I've checked out and dig, and other people aren't talking about them. And there were several he brought up that I thought, that sounds interesting. Go to YouTube, check out. Yeah, that actually is pretty interesting. And several of them had been released in association with Chaos Records. So ended up putting in an order because I didn't find many, if any, distros in the US that had many of the titles. There was one distro that had one or two of them, but there were a couple of others I wanted to pick up also. So I'm like, okay, let's just go straight to the source. And so that was the third package. And these I ordered a while back. They got a little bit stuck in international mail for a while. It was not the label's fault, to be very clear. They sent everything the day after I ordered, sent me the invoice, sent me a tracking, but then there was a certain point where they got stuck. And I contacted them after a couple of weeks. I'm like, I'm not sure if the tracking number stopped working or what, but they looked into it like, oh, it's actually stuck at a certain distribution spot. We can go there and get that pushed through wherever it's stuck. And they did. And I appreciate it quite a bit. So, what did I get from Chaos Records? First one up is, don't know how to pronounce this one. Mephitis? Mephitis. Mephitis. I don't know, and I'm too tired to figure it out. But this album is called Ember Dawn. It's a band out of California. I think they're from the Oakland Bay Area. And I'm guessing it's a two-man project from the look of things. I've heard one of their other albums a little bit. I haven't heard this one, but I think it's the follow-up to this album. And it was pretty interesting death metal. Dark metal might be a better term for it because it doesn't quite fit the, quote unquote normal death metal mold, which is something I've noticed and kind of appreciate about Hate Meditations. It doesn't seem like, he's really interested in covering just the flavor of the week, good but kind of generic bands. He's going to be focused on Here are bands that are doing it a little bit different and as such probably a little bit better or a little bit more interesting if nothing else. And that's why I think several of these kind of clicked with me too. So yeah, this was one of the bands he had talked about. So it's like that actually is pretty cool when I checked out the other one. So they did not have the other album in the distro, but they had this one. So I'm like, okay, he had mentioned too that this one was very good on the Hate Meditations podcast. So I've picked this up and I'm interested in giving Mephitis some more spins and getting into them a bit more. This one I keep messing up the name of also. It's Mortify with Fragments at the Edge of Sorrow. Really, really cool cover artwork. When I saw this, it kind of immediately captured my attention with like the zombies with all the arms up in the air, really cool cosmic sky in the background. Really like the band's logo too. The way the arms line up kind of matches, with some of the geometry on the logo. Really, really nice piece of cover art. This is a Chilean band. Again, there's the Chaos label. I played some clips from this one too. I think, there was a few clips maybe. I can't remember if the Hate Meditation show had any clips in it or not. They may not have actually. I think I had to like listen to the podcast, then jump over and hear some clips on YouTube. But this one kind of caught my ear right off the bat. And so I was like, that sounds really good. Um, the Chilean scene, has been getting a lot of respect in recent years. Another thing I can thank Kellen for. Kellen, my wallet will be sending you a bill and or restraining order. But yeah, there's a lot of excellent bands in Chile these days, and they seem to have this perfect formula of making things that uh, have an old school feel to them without feeling so horribly generic and overdone. Like a lot of bands, I hate to say it, but in North America, just you hear it and it's just like I feel like I've heard 100 bands do this in the past 5 to 10 years, and you hear a band from like Chile do it, and just like it just has they're doing something that makes it a little more authentic and a little more interesting, even though at face value, it's sticking to the same kind of formula, but they just somehow they're adding something that makes it feel very, very different. So yeah, really looking forward to spending time with that one. Yeah, the third one that was on their label that I picked up was Sepulchrum. And this one is called Lamentations of something. Lamentations of Immolated Souls. Liked the logo, liked the cover art again, very cool. And this was another one that when I dialed it up on YouTube after hearing the Hate Meditations episode mention it, played, two, maybe three songs. I was just like, that's really good. Yeah, we should Chaos Records, huh? Okay, we need to pick some of these up. So looking forward to checking all those out. I didn't mention years of release. All of those are from the past couple of years. None of those on Chaos were like 2025 releases, but they're all relatively new, active bands. I think Sepulchrum, it's their debut. Mortify, I think it was their second album. And again, Mephitis has two, maybe three albums out. So newer stuff. Did get a couple of other things from uh, Chaos Distro as well. Picked up this. It's the split that Jade did with Sanctuarium. Little easy to trip over that one. But this came out in 2024. Jade, of course, did the amazing Pacification of Death album a couple of years ago. They have a new album out this year. It has the words flowering and mysteries and dreams in the album title. I haven't had much of a chance to check it out yet because it's on Amazon, but it's $22. And even with paying with Amazon points, I ain't paying $22 for a CD because, cue the line, I've said it a few times already. But I heard the split when it came out, and I thought the tracks by both bands were pretty good. The Sanctuarium, Sanctuarium, there we go, was pretty good, and the Jade tracks were really, really good. But splits are not something I typically pick up. Don't know why. Um, I think sometimes I feel like, all right, even if all the tracks are good, it's like, well, I only got a little bit from this band and a little bit from that band, and I'm not completely satisfied in either case. But they had this one. It was not very expensive in the distro. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm ordering this other stuff, and those tracks were good. So sure, let's add that to the order. And the fifth and last thing that I ordered out of the Chaos Records Discog was, or sorry, distro. Yes, Deathless Void with the Voluptuous Fire of Sin. This is an Iron Bonehead release. Came out 2024. This one I was supposed to review for Heavy Metallurgy, but we didn't ever get it up and on the site. It kind of fell through for, let's say, technical difficulties. Really cool album, though. We had gotten it as a promo. Stuff on Iron Bonehead, I'll generally check out. They've had some really, really good projects on the label. Some of them end up feeling kind of generic death black thrashy, but they do have some gems for sure. This one was kind of a slow burn. I checked it out, so that's interesting. And there was a new band from the Netherlands. The drummer is the dude from Atrocity and Leaves Eyes, if I remember correctly. So yeah, kind of a weird pedigree there for what's actually kind of like a cosmic horror black metal project. This kind of operates in the same space as albums like Ordo ad Chaos by Mayhem or C Monumentum Requires Circumspice by Deathspell Omega. Maybe, some of, Bluetooth Nord's more, again, cosmic, horrifying sounding albums. Now, is it exactly on that same tier as the stuff I just named? No. But I feel like it's trying to operate in that same sonic quadrant of the galaxy. And does so really, really well. There's some, truly kind of, disquieting moments worked in across this album. And this one's held up quite well. I revisited it a few months after we decided not to review it, and it's like, it's actually held up really well. And then maybe like, 6 months later, ended up getting back into rotation. It's like, that's actually held up really, really well. So yeah, when I saw that Chaos Records had it in their distro, I was like, I never did get a chance to pick that up. One of my local stores sometimes gets a few things from Iron Bonehead, but they, typically don't get a very wide selection. They'll get a couple of titles at a time. Hadn't seen them pick this one up. I was just like, that album is good enough, and it's held up well enough over the past, I guess, about a year now. That yeah, I am happy to put a physical copy of that on my shelf, along with physical copies of all these other things on my shelf. The wife's already made it clear I'm not allowed to buy another shelf. So at some point, space will dictate that changes have to be made. But as I said, this just kind of a fluke that all three packages came in on the exact same day. And it's only literally maybe the fourth time this calendar year that I've had any music arrive in the mail. It's been a very, very quiet year for ordering stuff. Better year for finding stuff, at local record shops. But that'll be a story for other videos. So let's wrap this one on up. Let's talk metal in the comments down below. What's your 2025 buying been like? I know a lot of folks have sort of tried to back off on buying some. Folks are being more mindful about money and spending. That's never a bad idea. Uh, have you picked up a reasonable amount of stuff? Have you just kind of gone cold turkey for a while? Have you just kept buying at the same general rate? Have you been ordering new stuff or finding older things at local record stores or record shows? Uh, how have you been acquiring some of your purchases here in 2025? Leave a comment down below. Folks always seem to be interested in, what people are finding, what people are buying, what the collection updates are like. Uh, People enjoy that kind of stuff. So yeah, let folks know how you're updating your collection lately as well. And with that, I'm going to call this to a close, and I'm going to go get something to drink and get some sleep. So until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.